Well, hey there, YouTube. Mr. Lead Farmer here. I got a lot of questions and comments on my last video where I'm out there patrolling around with this here Barrett M99. So I thought I'd go through a few of those questions with y'all and give you a nice little gear breakdown. Let's go ahead and start with the rifle and what a little bit different I have on there. Alright, first off, let's start with the beautiful girl herself, Gertha. And yeah, she thick. So, as far as differences go, I mean, this thing is pretty plain Jane, except for the fact that I put on these here iron sights. And they are PRI, just normal iron sights. I put on this here ergo grip, and it's their 0-degree angle ergo grip. Now about that, I did have a little bit of a hard time getting used to it because you really can't carry the weight of the gun with that grip. It doesn't really match up with the angle of your wrist for actually like holding on to weight. But when you get behind the gun, it's actually a lot better than the traditional grip. Now here on the back, I had to attach this sling, and as I said in that video of me patrolling around with it, there was no actual attachment point for this darn thing. So on the front here, I've got a Magpul Picatinny rail mounted sling swivel. And on the back, I just had to go to Home Depot and get one of these Husky deals that people use to hang their tools with. Had to do a little modification of that too to get it to stop jingling. But now we get to the more important part. So if you're going to carry something like this around, you really got to think, what is kind of the equivalent weight? Because, well, if you're going to have a sling, you want something that can hold that weight comfortably. So I went ahead and went online and found this. I know it's upside down, but it's the Blue Force gear sling from Vickers Tactical. Now this sling is actually a sling that's meant for the M249 saw. And I'll give you a little heads up as to why I picked that, because the weight of an M249 saw with 200 rounds on it is around 22 pounds. And the weight of this, the way I'm having it set up here, is around 23 pounds. So that's the reason I chose that Vickers Blue Force Tactical sling on there. And I just gotta say, the weight of this is probably a little bit much for most people. But I did want to bring up a few different items that are somewhat equal in weight that you might not expect that you probably carry around a lot. Now, for you all in the military, if you were a machine gunner and you actually had to hoof around an M240, that is the 7.62 general purpose machine gun, that guy weighs about 26 or 27 pounds. This would actually spare you a few pounds. And if you had to carry around a saw, well, this is actually about the same weight. Now, to think about this in a more civilian aspect or more civilian mindset, I used to do thinning work with an MS-362 Stihl chainsaw with a 25-inch bar. Thinning work and also a little bit of disaster relief, stuff like that. With a full gas tank, that actually also weighs more than this rifle. So, could anybody just walk around with this sucker? I don't think so. I've been working out for quite some time, making sure my back can handle it. But I had a lot of practice carrying around a chainsaw that was around the same weight. So yeah, if you're used to carrying around that kind of stuff, this is actually not going to seem like too big a burden to you. Especially not with this sling. That sling was super beneficial in taking the weight off of my arms and putting it onto my back. So yeah, what is the reasoning behind this? Now, I've had a lot of questions about that when it comes to the rifle itself. Like, what do you plan on doing with that? What do you plan on shooting with that? Well, for me, it was the way at the end of a range day to have a big send-off and to enjoy that way, mainly. And then I started thinking, what could I do on YouTube that's actually kind of cool for this? And could I actually carry this sucker around out in the field? So yeah, that's what this experiment was basically all about. But to think about it in a slightly different role, if you had to augment your unit with a machine gun, then you would have to do something like this. You'd have to bring in whatever attachment that has it. This is kind of the same thing. It's not for everyday patrolling, not for everyday uses. It's not my bedside gun, for goodness sake. This is something that if, like, China and Russia and North Korea get together and invade, and I need something that might have a light armor capability, something that might be able to sabotage aircraft, take out infrastructure, just make a invading forces day really hard. That was the other thought behind this. So I know, it's just a bit of LARPing. But now that I've said a lot about the gun itself, let's go ahead and switch over to the gear. Well, alright, now time for the gear breakdown. I'm going to go through this piece by piece, but I'm going to first start off by showing you guys how I failed, because I was not sure that this shotgun carrier system would actually work. So, I first got this pouch, which is just a basic universal mag pouch, and it does hold, I think, 8 of them just fine, but a few obvious issues you're going to run into is the sound, and the fact that if you open it and you forget to close it back up, you might just lose all those rounds. There's no way of retaining them in there. So yeah, just wanted to show my rig. Most of this is actually made by Condor, with the exception of that hydration system carrier. So let's go through it, shall we? On the LBV side of it, the actual skeleton of this is a Condor Ronin chest rig. It's very lightweight. I did not want to even think about carrying plates with the weight that I already had on there. And to the probably most noticed part of that video, these Condor shot shell carriers. They're pretty awesome. So I have one over here that's closed up, just to show you what they look like. But then, pop this open, undo that, and you have 8 rounds in each one of these cells. Now there's a few of these loops that you're not going to be using because the round doesn't go that far, but man, that holds them in there very well. So, you have the Ronin chest rig, Condor shotgun shell pouch. This hydration carrier is made by Fox Tactical. And this utility pouch is Condor's large utility pouch. And I just got my first aid gear in there. And then, yeah, back on over to another one of those shotgun mag pouches. So the next thing to think about if you're going to try to do this yourself is what kind of sidearm you should have. Because for a single shot 50 cal, or if you had an M240 or 249, they give those people sidearms for a reason. Because sometimes you're either going to have to be reloading or tied up doing other things, and you're not going to have that firearm ready to go right then. So you're going to need to pick a firearm that is very capable. Let me just break out mine and show you what I was carrying that day. And here is the sidearm I decided to bring out and equip myself with. And it's got a pretty basic leather shoulder holster, but I'm going to replace that with a nylon one. But this is a Glock 21. And I picked this particular firearm because it has 13 rounds in the magazine of 45. So I'd say if you're picking something to be carrying along in this type of situation. You want something a little bit higher capacity. So I would go with either a high capacity 45 like this, or something like a Glock 17, or maybe a CZ75, something along those lines. Something that has enough ammo where you can feel confident that if you do have somebody up close, you're going to be able to take care of that threat and maybe another one too. So that's what I was wearing when it comes to the gear. Let me give you guys a look of it all set up and actually on. So this is what it looks like all together. And for those who didn't see my other video of me actually getting into position with this thing, firing with it, and trolling with it, you should go check that out. A few little lines of advice I have for you. Have a good eye pro, have a good ear pro. And if you're ever planning on carrying this thing around, get a sling that's meant for a machine gun. It is kind of what you need. So yeah, I was wearing this pretty much all Condor gear. Quick camo for the leaf suit. And I especially like their cover because if I do not want to do any camo paint, I can just do this. And ta-da! I have my face covered. So yeah, I hope you guys liked the video. And I can definitely get to my firearm still from here, my backup. As I said before, is it doable? Yes. Would you really want to have this for an everyday type of situation? No. Do you have to work out a lot to have this? Yes. Is that going to be good for you anyway? Yes. Well, we have reached the end of this gear breakdown, and I hope I gave everybody a few ideas if they actually want to do this themselves. Is this something I would just normally patrol around with? And I would have to say no. But for a certain special type of incident, or a certain special type of target, this is absolutely doable. So I'd like to leave you all with a little Bible verse. It's Proverbs 21. All of man's ways are right in his own eyes, but the Lord weighs their hearts. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. Hope you enjoyed the video and got a little something out of it.